Hello, everyone. Welcome to Geo-Politicus. Here I'm with Georgi Katharava and in Tbilisi, Georgia, and I am Meurmishvili. I am based in Washington D.C. Today we'll talk about things that most everybody is talking about: President Trump's address to the joint session of the US Congress and the implications, particularly for the Eurasian region. Not as much about the US domestic politics. And some of the reactions that we've seen in Russia and elsewhere in the region to everything related to Ukraine in the past few days. It seems like last Friday's Oval Office meeting was just history ago. Um, so many things have happened since then. So we'll try to sort of share our views, address some of the topics that are widely discussed, and hopefully bring you something that you have not seen in the English language media yet, which is more of an outlook from the region onto what's happening here. Related to Ukraine. So, Georgi, great to see you.
Great to see you too, and great to be again with our audience, which we're asking to hit like and subscribe and stay with us.
Yes, and send us questions too. We'll try to answer
Yes.
them if we can.
Yeah.
Georgi, let's start from last night. It seems it's the freshest thing that's happened related to Ukraine, I should say. And let's just jump it right into any reactions that you may have seen in the Russian media, how the Russians are responding to it, anything from that angle to talk about.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's not only reaction to the last night and State of Union address that President Trump had in the Congress. I think it's the overall reaction on the latest development related to Ukraine U.S. relationship. I think the Russia is Russia and Russian officials seems to be worried about this. Why? Because you mentioned this famous already Friday meeting in Oval Office that actually for Russians were interpreted a bit differently because it showed kind of a discontent between the Ukraine and the United States leadership, which was obvious. But for Russia, I mean, it was interpreted or translated in Russia as very unpleasant development in terms of need in the future to actually incorporate Ukraine and probably in the future also Europe into the negotiation process related to the Russia-Ukraine war, which they wanted to avoid. So basically, now Russia is very much uncertain. They don't know whether U.S. has a leverage over Ukraine to basically push the peace process in a certain way that is planned in Russia to be suitable for their side. And there's several points that actually we have to mention, which Russia is um, officially or unofficially voicing out related to the settlement. They want Ukraine to stay neutral, whatever it means in the 21st century. Then they want actually to push all the sides to explain to Ukraine that they have to cut the military to a very small number of uh,
Demilitarized, yes.
yeah, demilitarize them, like not more than 50,000 troops to be allowed to the for in the whole country. Then they want to push Ukraine also for territorial concessions. As we know, we're talking about Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson regions to be basically handed over to Russia together with Crimea. And then what they want is actually the lifting sanctions. But What is important is that also, if we're talking about these very intense consultations that were in Riyadh and then later in Istanbul, according to some sources, undisclosed sources in Russian, among Russian diplomats, they were actually mentioning that there was much more, wider actually issues discussed during those consultations, which is, the joint exploration of resources in Arctic and in Russia proper, that allows actually Russia to have long-term investments on the one hand. The second is that they also will have an access to certain technologies that they really badly need at the moment to extract those minerals in those areas. Plus, they are very much talking about normalization, whatever it means, of diplomatic relations. It's not only the exchange or reappointment of the ambassadors, but also they are actually trying to get back their property that was seized or frozen in on the territory of the United States, some years ago, right? And these are, wide array of issues that are under the threat if Ukraine deal will not be actually pushed through. United States does not has an appetite to talk about some other issues. That's what they are describing, as far as I understand. And this is a big
Yeah,
problem
but
right
that's
now.
yeah, that's understandable. That's what Russia wants, but there's nothing in it that
No,
the Ukrainians and the Europeans would agree to. Like none of those things that you just listed that
exactly,
they are
exactly.
putting forward. No, nobody's going to agree to that.
And nobody gonna agree to that. But this is something that Russia is put forward as a, let's say, conditions for those processes. And I would say that also very interesting to see uh, the outcome of the meeting that was held in London, also during the weekend, where actually Europe is trying, or kind of waking up in terms of allowing like increased military spending and developing some sort of strategies related to assisting Ukraine militarily in terms of the settlement of this conflict, or sorry, war. And this, I mean, we don't know yet. We don't have any result that we can feel or see, but the amount of funds that are committed from different sides, from different countries in Europe, shows us a bit of a optimistic view that not fully, of course, because nobody can fully substitute United States in these regards, but some sort of burden can
Mhm.
be actually carried by the
Burden
European
sharing, yeah,
allies for
and
Ukraine.
yeah, that's the some of the analysts are saying that that's basically what President Trump is trying to accomplish to have increased burden sharing from the Europeans. And we should also say that the tactics or President Trump's policies and statements or the declarations of those policies or intentions um, have so far worked. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk has said that Europe finally woke up. And it was after that meeting that you referred to in London, where the allies, or allies, UK, under the UK's leadership, got together and said that we need to come up with a plan for Ukraine and for European security. Plus, we've been seeing what's happening in Germany about lifting the borrowing potential of the country, or lifting the limits to borrow money. And that most likely will happen before Merz becomes Chancellor of Germany.
We
So
mean
that's,
to increase the budget deficit, right?
Right. So yeah, so they can
Mhm.
borrow money for defense for the most part. And yesterday, Ursula von der Leyen said that Europeans are committing up to $800 billion. That's almost a trillion for European defense. Now we
But
don't
also,
know too many details.
sorry, but she also mentioned that there are some member states that might not agree with that. So we
Yes.
all know who these people are.
Yes, and there are also some. I have not personally seen an official statement, but in some media reports, you can see this movement that some of the EU members and some of the NATO allies are thinking about stripping the voting right to some others. Now, to what extent that's possible, that's a different topic of discussion altogether. But on the narratives level, at least, there is much discontent and unhappiness, particularly related to Hungary in this case.
Yes.
So, very interesting processes are happening. But to come back to the uh, so that aspect of pushing the allies to spend more and take more of the burden on themselves in securing Ukraine and achieving some sort of just peace for Ukraine is obviously working. We'll see where that goes. Again, we don't know too many details, but one thing that we know for sure, which came out um, yesterday, and today we had yet again confirmation of the statement that aid to Ukraine is being paused. It's not stopped completely. It's not it's a temporary pause, and some of the administration members are making sure to underline that this is only temporary. For example, today. Um, John Radcliffe, who's the director of the CIA, had an interview on Fox Business. And he said that I'm reading a quote by him that President Zelensky put out a statement that said, I'm ready for peace, and I want President Donald Trump's leadership to bring about that peace. And so I think on the military front and the intelligence front, the pause that allowed for that to happen, I think will go away. And I think that we'll work together shoulder to shoulder with Ukraine, as we have, to push back on the aggression that is there. So that's a quote from his interview. What do you make of it? Yesterday, saying that there is this pause on both arms as well as intelligence sharing, and today we're hearing that okay, it will most likely go away. Why do you think it's happening?
I mean, I think it's a normal diplomatic, let's say, move, just to allow the other party, which is Ukraine in this case, to rethink the position and basically to push the other side to to sign an agreement. I mean, we are talking about the agreement about the natural resources, etc. So
Mhm.
I think Ukraine was ready to do that, as far as I understand, on Friday. And talking about the readiness of Ukraine right now, we also seen the post of President Zelensky on the social media, as well as President Trump yesterday during his speech also mentioned that he had a communication from President Zelensky about the readiness to sign the agreement. So I think U.S. just showed the importance on the one hand of the aid that it provided to Ukraine, as well as showed the ability to withdraw from any, kind of an arrangements that they think are not very much suitable for them anymore. So this is a somehow like showing uh, showing the strength in the negotiation, and this is normal, I think. But now, if both sides are ready to sign the agreement, the question is when it can happen. So, if we
There's
now see that publicly, both sides publicly actually admitted that they are ready and they will sign it. So now we can to wait the moment, and I think the sooner it will be done, the better is for the Ukraine and the whole situation.
Yes, there's an expectation that something big will happen next week. Um, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz spoke with reporters very briefly today, and he announced that there will be something big or some big announcement coming next week. We don't know what that is. Could be the signing of the agreement, could be something else, maybe setting the first step of the negotiations or first meeting of the negotiations. And he also said that everything that's happening now is a preparation or a part of the preparations process towards a temporary ceasefire, which then will lead to a long-term ceasefire. And in the meantime, we'll be able to continue the peace negotiations. So obviously very, very important things are happening, and it's worth remembering that President Trump, even though during the campaign he pledged to end this war in one day, later on when he appointed General Kellogg as his special representative to Ukraine, uh, they moved this 1 day deadline to 100 days. So obviously, we're moving to that mark, 100-day mark, and I think the administration is sort of using tactics that are debatable by people if they are good tactics or if the each step and statement is handled and delivered in an acceptable way. But what we're seeing is that I think administration is trying everything to pull the sides together, in this case, Russia and Ukraine, to negotiate. We, of course, don't know what President Trump's team is talking to the Russians about, what kind of, as you said, what kind of concessions uh, we're talking about when it comes to Russia, but we very clearly know what the Russians know, at least from the in the public domain. They basically want Ukraine to cease to exist as an independent sovereign state. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Really.
It's yeah, and you're right because I think when President Trump made his promises during the election campaign, uh, he figuratively meant 1 day. I mean, nothing can be done in 1 day for sure, let alone such a big scale,
Yeah,
uh,
indicating that
yeah,
very short
war.
time, basically. Yeah.
And I think even 100 days not much, to be very honest, because if United States will be able to pull together, this two sides at the table, at negotiation table, still it will be just the beginning of the process where sides will be, exchanging the positions, see what they can do, what are the aims of each other, etc., etc.
Mhm.
And the agreement means that both sides have to agree on something. So on one hand, on the other hand, when we talk about, and we already mentioned about Ursula von der Leyen statement, the meeting in London, the previous two meetings in Versailles in France, where another 700 billion euros were actually also kind of allocated towards solving these problems related to Ukraine and backing Ukraine, etc. I think there are many, many more issues to be covered. It's not only ceasefire; it's just it's also stabilization of the front and reconstruction issues. Implementation of this natural resource related
Yeah, those
things.
are. I think
It's a big it's a big issue, and
those are. I think. I think all of those things, of course, need to be addressed at some
they are
point. I think.
interlinked in any way. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm
Yeah.
saying that this is part of the process. So, and I expect that next week probably, as you said, hopefully the agreement on rare earth, as they say, will be signed, and that will be the the starting point for the whole process, and that is already big, I would
Yeah.
say, and it will be a huge achievement for the administration and for the Western allies together with Ukraine to start moving forward.
Yes, and I think that's exactly the goal of this very unpredictable, chaotic process that we've witnessed in the past few days. Um, to get the sides, get the sides, to accomplish some sort of ceasefire. The easiest way to end this war, of course, is for Russia to just withdraw from the Ukrainian territory and finish the war. Obviously, that would be the
Unfortunately, not going to happen.
shortest. Exactly. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. So I think the initial step that administration is trying to, at least from what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing from the public statements, is to get to some sort of temporary ceasefire. And if that's accomplished, then that would also be a part of the European for Keir Starmer's a 4-point plan,
Yeah.
where he basically said that there should be some sort of temporary ceasefire. And I believe President Zelensky also said that he's ready for a 1 month long ceasefire. Or was it Keir Starmer? Um,
Uh, yeah,
all the statements.
it was joint statement. I think it was discussed in London for
Yeah,
1 month ceasefire that
in the
has
air
to
and
be,
in the sea.
yes,
Yeah,
air in the sea. And then, I mean, basically what we're talking about, actually, ceasefire, armistice with all these conditions, etc., like deployment of the troops, guarantee of the secure or guarantee of ceasefire, non-violation of the ceasefire by these troops, and and then stabilization of the situation, right?
yeah.
So these are
Georgi,
the steps.
are you seeing anything from the Ukrainian side? Because you do
Yeah, I
read
do. I
it,
do.
monitor
Oh,
that. What's
well,
what's the sense about the temporary ceasefire? Are you getting any sort of like prominent narratives in that regard?
actually, the government officials are, just they follow the line of the president, and
Mhm.
they agree with that. I have not seen any public opinion about that for now, because probably it's too early to have it. But I think Ukraine and the political spectrum is ready for that, as well as the military. And the whole country actually understand that Ukraine badly need this kind of initiative to be implemented on the ground. Whether it is possible with the adversary like Russia, that's another issue.
Yep.
That's a totally different story. But I think from the U.S., Ukraine side, everybody is hopeful about it. So, what are the conditions for that from the other side? We don't know, because nothing has been actually uh, stated or voiced out from Moscow, and we don't know this.
Yep. Sure.
That's the problem, I
Yep.
think. In order to analyze the situation and see how it is possible or not possible, etc. Because when we speak about public opinion in Russia, nobody really has a measured source.
Yeah, and it's not trusted. How
It's
can
not
you trust
trusted
anything
exactly.
that's coming out of Russia?
So,
Yeah.
and the media outlets are also not very much trusted over there. So it's very hard to understand the mood in Russia in general. So political mood we already know, like Lavrov, Peskov, Vladimir Putin, and this famous state media that actually shouts all anti-Western and anti-Ukrainian
Yeah.
slogans all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there is some assessment that maybe the reason why President Trump is talking about um, young Ukrainians and young Russians dying in the same context is to make sure that Russian society somehow, maybe
Yeah,
through
that
his
this information will penetrate the society. I also heard about that.
exactly. So
Uh,
there is that opinion as well. Very interesting. So, what do you think? How do you think this can continue? What do you think happens next?
You mean,
I'm
you mean
asking
the
you an
negotiate?
impossible question to answer, but still,
No, no, no. The negotiations or in general war.
whichever way you want to take it, like consider it as an open-ended
No,
question.
as a negotiations, I think the Western allies, the United States, Europeans, and Ukrainians will have difficult time with Russians for sure because they have like just set up the mindset about what they want to achieve through these negotiations, and Russia seems to use this opportunity to discuss other issues. As we said, economic sanctions, lifting the economic sanctions,
Mhm.
opening the borders. Like I think there were also talks about reestablishing the direct flights from Russia to U.S., etc. So they want really like a full scale normalization of the relationship with the rest of the world. Plus, they want to be in
How's the saying? They
G7.
want to have the cake and eat it too, right? And I
They
don't know
want
if
to have
that's
they want
compatible
to
with the
have
U.S.
they want to have a monopoly on the cake. They don't want
Exactly.
even anyone
Exactly.
else to share it with. So and I think what they will do is that taking into account the last several months of brutal advances on the battlefield, with a lot of casualties, as President Trump also he refers to that last several months and weeks, there are like casualties unseen before or are heard of. Um, they are advancing slowly but surely, and they want to. I think they will be using this opportunity to push as much as it is possible in both ways, diplomatically, as I said already, as well as militarily on the battlefield.
Mhm.
Now, I think, notwithstanding pause in the delivery of the weapons to Ukraine, I think Ukraine now possesses sort of arsenal that will be enough for several more months. Some say half a year, some say by the end of the year. I mean, there are different assessments of different experts. We don't know, but for sure, let's say the minimum 3 to 6 months to withstand this kind of military push. That is actually uh, good for Ukraine, not only because it will be just resisting huge military force, but also allowing Ukraine to have a much firmer stance during the negotiations, which actually assures its you know some sort of higher degree of autonomy during the negotiations. And if we talk about this period of time, I think that can be also used by Western allies. I mean, I'm talking about Western European allies to somehow, utilize those funds that they were talking about
Yeah,
lately.
I think the issue with that they can do that. I think that's the whole point. That's what President Trump has been
Exactly. Exactly.
pushing them on for sure. But there's an issue of capabilities and capacity. The question is, can, I don't know, German arms manufacturing increase, German or any European, can they increase the production of the weapons that Ukraine needs fast enough and to the scale that Ukraine needs? There's also the issue of capabilities, that there are certain things that the US is supporting Ukraine in that the European allies, and again, I'm not a military expert by any means, but at least from what you read, is that the United States is providing the type of assistance to Ukraine that Europeans are just physically not capable to do it. Not that they are refusing to do it, such as, for example, satellite
Yeah, technologies. Yeah.
technologies, intelligence, uh, targeting, um, and from what I understand, again, Radcliffe said that it's the pause in the intelligence sharing. which is also a part of this military assistance to Ukraine. This pause only applies to things um, inside the Russian territory. So I don't know if you've seen anything about that, but my understanding is that it's not just full out stopping support,
Yes,
military
this is
support, I mean,
yeah,
intelligence support, but
yeah,
only on the Russian territory.
yeah.
And
We're talking.
that could be a sort of part of the tactics. There are so many unknowns that it's difficult to explain it. Okay, what does this mean, or
No,
why is
because
this happening?
it's
But
it's actually understandable because yeah, I read also that basically it refers to intelligence related to the targeting on the territory of Russia,
right.
just to show Russia a good faith before the negotiations, because United States has to sit by the table
Hmm.
and they have to be negotiated in good faith. So saying to Russians, okay, we are not helping Ukraine to target your territory, or some targets on your territory. We're not providing that information, but because you are aggressor and your troops are on the territory of Ukraine, you are occupying Ukrainian territory, that target will be revealed to Ukraine. So that is understandable position
Or I
of,
would
of
like to look at it from a
yes,
sort of opposite side and actually think that yes, that could be one side of the coin, but the other side of the same coin could be, we can hurt you. And I
of course,
hope that's the position that the United
of
States is
course,
coming out of,
of
saying
course.
that we can stop this or we can resume it and we can really increase it.
Yeah,
So maybe that would be, when President Trump talks about peace through strength, maybe that's a part of the
uh,
tactics.
obviously. I mean, Russians know it very well that United States can actually, with the conventional weapons, can destroy any target in any point in the territory, located in the territory of Russia. So you don't need to remind them. But as you said, this is a good point, just to once again reiterate and underline that we can do whatever we decide to do. If we decide to provide this kind of information to Ukrainians, then basically you will be hit immediately. If we will not, then it will be difficult for Ukraine to hit the target on the territory of Russia. But
Mhm.
also, I would not downgrade actually possibilities of Ukraine to search for the targets and to hit them. Of course, they will not be able to have this satellite imagery and whatever that to a degree that the United States can provide, but Europeans can provide some of it, not
Yes.
fully equivalent, but I would say uh, European technologies in this regard, I would assume that they are on par with the Russians. So the Russian capabilities in this regard are not superior to European
Yeah.
ones. So and they are sufficiently well equipped with this kind of technologies as well. So the issue here is that I think if Europe will be able, as you said, to mobilize and to stand up for this threat that they are now very much seeing from Ukraine, I mean, from this war, I think they will be able to develop further their capabilities, physical capabilities as well as technological ones, in a very relatively short period of time, not only just to assist Ukraine, but also to advance their defense dramatically.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
So, and I think they have to thank President Trump for that, to be very honest,
I don't think they will
to
thank you
allow.
for it, but
No, but
uh,
it's ironically talking,
yeah, yes,
but
it's
the thing is that the situation after after let's say inauguration of President Trump, uh, showed that Europe has to do something else. I mean, something more than they're doing till now. Why? Because they have resources. Why? Because
Every,
they have capabilities, and why? They have a threat.
yes, direct threat. Yes,
Yeah,
um, and that it's not just since the Trump administration took the effect. Even before that, and even during President Biden, during President Obama, this idea that Europeans need to actually do more for their own defense, need to pay more towards their own defense from the GDP, um, has been going on for as long as I can remember. Um, there were three countries that were paying 2% of their GDP on their defense in NATO during Trump's first presidency. Now we have virtually all of them are saying that that's true. We're committing to spend more, and now we're even talking about somewhere from 3 to 5% of GDP. It's not even 2% anymore. So it's. I think it's great that Europeans are finally waking up, are willing to do more burden sharing. But what's unfortunate is that they're waking up uh, to President Trump sort of shaking the unity of the alliance, or sort of developing this, giving the European allies this sense that America is no longer a trustworthy or trusting partner, as opposed to them waking up when Putin invaded, with a full-scale invasion this time, invaded Ukraine in 2022. So that's I think all of this is very positive that Europe is doing so much and committing uh, so much to its own defense.
yeah,
But at the same time, it's very sad to see under which circumstances it's happening. And I'm very happy to also see that there is, even though there was this online, there was this campaign yesterday that Trump was going to come out at the joint session and say that U.S. was considering leaving the alliance or NATO. Of course, that did not happen, and it is great when I talk to experts um, about the unity and the possibility of America's withdrawal from NATO. Most people say that, well, it's a non-zero chance, but very unlikely, because America has vast interests in staying in NATO as a um, reliable partner, as somebody who's supporting.
reliable and dominant partner.
And today, Mike Waltz, in this brief interview or brief Q&A with the press at the White House, he said that America is upholding Article 5. America is not leaving NATO. America stays as a reliable NATO partner. So that's reassuring to hear that. But what's unfortunate in all of this, and interject at any point, is that there's so much uncertainty on every level, whether it's related to Ukraine or to tariffs or trade wars, domestic politics, um, and things are happening so fast that sometimes it's very difficult to be optimistic as much as you may
Yeah,
want to be an optimist. And there are certain things that by nature you want to be an optimist. You sort of try to explain, find the reasons and explanations for different things. And then your analytical mind kind of says that, I think it's your wishful thinking. So I think we're in that cycle every day for this past few days,
yeah.
unfortunately.
You actually very interestingly used word uncertainty, And I think this is the big problem for the global uh, security and international relations when uncertainty comes also not only from the war torn territories, but also, I think, from Washington, D.C. And
Oh,
that
yes,
is,
that's exactly what I meant. Yes.
yeah, that's what makes the whole situation difficult.
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly what I was referring to. That some of the statements, comments, actions, um, they are the ones. President Trump, I think, very intentionally also. Some of it must be his nature. That's just who he is and how he is. But I think on the other side, it's also his sort of mm, tactics to push people, so they would react in the way that he wants them to react. And this quote that I read earlier from Radcliffe is a
Mhm.
very clear demonstration of that. That he basically said that we stopped the military aid and intel sharing with Ukraine to make sure that President Zelensky came to the negotiating table. Whether you agree with it or not, that's a different point. Whether that's a
No, this is
like
a tool
skillful diplomacy or
to
not.
use to achieve the goal.
Yeah.
That's no, as I said, it's normal.
Well, I
They
would not go
someone
that far. I would not say it's normal.
well, listen,
At least,
it is for some people it is acceptable, for some people it's unacceptable. But as we said, we're in a very unusual situation. We are living very turbulent times. We're living under like huge uncertainty that actually not started today or yesterday. It started way back 3 4 years ago when Russia started to amass their troops, near Ukrainian border in Belarus and Western Russia. That's when it all started.
well,
So we are.
it started in 2008, if you ask me.
That's
And
true. I
if you
mean,
wanted to
here
go
you
back
are.
a year before that, it started in 2007 when President Putin declared his basically um, desire to retake or reestablish the Russian Empire. So,
I think we have a question.
uh, well, I think we have comments that I don't pray, but today I feel like I need to. I pray that I'm wrong in seeing what I see. Yeah, that comment can go either way. You're wrong to see what you're seeing. That we're somehow seeing something that's a bit hopeful that we were seeing a week ago, or on the contrary, that you're seeing the worsening of the situation. So
I think
maybe
it's
like
worth
many of
praying
us.
every day for a better future, as we all do, those who are believers. But yeah, as I said, we are in a very uncertain situation, and let's pray that the certainty will come down to us from the heaven, at least.
Yes, I would say that I'm still hopeful that cool heads prevail everywhere in Washington and Kiev. I don't know if there are any cool heads in Moscow, but I hope they listen to
Oh,
the.
they're pretty much cool, I think. Yeah, they're cool, but they are evil as well.
Okay, well, that's not good then. Okay, Georgi, we had a very interesting week. I think next week is going to bring more interesting things. I hope they are not as nail biting experiences as we had in the past few days, but there is an expectation that some sort of big statement, something big, is going to be supposed to come out the following week. So let's wait and see. And
Yeah,
then
let's wait and see, and
next Wednesday, let's share our thoughts again.
let's discuss another, interesting and intense week as we predict.
Yeah. Yes. Thanks everybody for watching.
Yeah.
Thank you for sending the comments and questions. Hit the subscribe button here so you can see. mm This is, I believe, the only English language program, but if you are in Georgia and can understand both Georgian and Russian, you will see many interesting discussions on this channel. So subscribe and stay tuned.
Bye-bye.